You're listening to the Common Descent Podcast.
And welcome to Pok-É. Hello, Will.
Let them fight, David.
That's what I was going to suggest.
Yep.
And hello, everybody, and welcome to the fifth and final episode of Pok-É. In honor of the 30th anniversary of the Pokemon franchise, we have been evolving legendary Pokemon all throughout the series. There has been, this hasn't come out yet, but no doubt lots of fun discussion and even some fan art on the Discord that we've gotten to engage with our listeners. This episode, for our grand finale, we will be speculatively evolving Kyogre, Groudon, and Rayquaza. All three of them, the weather trio, as the fans sometimes call them. The goal of this episode, like all the ones in the series, is to discuss how might these fictional creatures or something like them evolve in the real world as part of our known evolutionary tree. From what ancestry might they come, and what conditions might lead them to evolving their distinctive features? This episode is going to be interesting because one of the most important parts here is the relationship between these three very different creatures.
Yeah.
If you haven't already, go check out our previous 4 episodes of Pok-É. We've been focused on legendary Pokemon the whole time. And if you want more, last year's Spooky was Monsters of Nintendo. So we're on a real Nintendo kick for these last several months. Without further ado, let's get into the details of this, our final Pok-É episode, featured creatures. Kyogre, Groudon, and Rayquaza are legendary Pokemon introduced in the 3rd generation. They are the mascots of Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. Later on, also the mascots of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Kyogre is a whale-like creature. It is called the Sea Basin Pokemon. It is able to bring rain, and it is said to be the personification of the sea itself. Groudon is a roughly Godzilla-shaped Pokemon, described as the continent Pokemon, can bring intense heat and sunlight, and is said to be the personification of the land itself. Kyogre and Groudon are most famous for their habit of fighting each other. They are they're basically kaiju, and they emerge and they have a kaiju fight, and that's kind of their thing. That's what they do. Rayquaza, being the 3rd of the trio, is a serpentine dragon, very much like a East Asian mythology dragon, long and slender. It is called the Sky High Pokemon, and its role in the trio is that when Kyogre and Groudon fight, Rayquaza shows up to stop them.
Yep.
All together, like I mentioned earlier, the fans sometimes call these the weather trio because they all have the ability to affect the weather. But in the actual, official Pokemon materials, they are referred to as the super ancient Pokemon.
Oh.
They are described, depending on what game text you're reading, they are described as being thousands of years old, or I believe this is some of Rayquaza's Pokedex entries, it is said to be hundreds of millions of years old.
Oh.
That these are ancient forces on the planet.
Yeah.
Let's get into the details. We're going to take these one at a time because they are so distinct from each other. Kyogre, as I mentioned, is roughly whale-shaped. It has this large, streamlined whale-like body. Its front limbs, its pectoral fins, are very large and flat, with these sort of what look like nails on the end of, like fingernails at the end of them. It has a large mouth that is often depicted as being toothy on the inside. It does have a pair of dorsal fins, a left and a right dorsal fin. It has little spikes on its chin. It has a wide, flat tail that is actually separated into these ribbon-like shapes. It looks like the tail is tattered a little bit.
Yep.
The body is mostly a deep blue with white patches here and there and red lines across it. Its shiny form is bright pink. And according to the Pokedex, it is almost 15 feet long, 4.5 meters. And because this one is honestly very funny, its weight is 776 pounds, which, as usual, Pokemon weights do not make any sense at all. Being a legendary Pokemon, not known to be either male or female, not known to reproduce, and there apparently is only one of them in existence. Kyogre is a water-type Pokemon, water associated with oceans and rain and the element of water itself. Kyogre's stats are overall balanced with an emphasis on special attack and special defense, so the more energy-oriented stats rather than the physical-oriented stats. And its ability, a reference to one of its most famous feats, its ability is Drizzle, which causes rain. Mm-hmm. When Kyogre enters battle, it creates the rain condition, which has effects on various moves. It powers up water-type moves. It weakens fire-type moves. It has a handful of other effects as well.
A notably unepic name for the ability of an epic Pokemon.
Yes, it's not unique to Kyogre. Other Pokemon can have Drizzle. It does. There is a unique ability we'll mention later, which does have a much more epic name.
Good.
Kyogre's moves are mainly a few different categories. It has a lot of water-based moves, like Hydro Pump and Water Spout. Also Ice Beam and Sheer Cold, ice-type moves. It has moves that are related to physical prowess, like Body Slam and Double Edged. And it has the move Ancient Power and Scary Face. Scary Face is like an intimidating move. Both of those, all three of these Pokemon have. That they all share this ability to summon Ancient Power and also to be extremely intimidating and slow down their opponents. The lore around Kyogre is that it is, like I said, the personification of the sea itself. It is able to create torrential rain. According to Hoenn region mythology, Kyogre expands the sea with torrential rain and huge waves. It floods the land and expands the oceans. Most often, it's famous for being a force of disruption and danger with those effects. But in at least one Pokedex entry, it's also said to be a savior to people who had suffered from droughts. So at least some people have revered it for saving them from droughts. When Kyogre is not active, which is to say when it is not fighting Groudon, it slumbers on the sea floor.
Yeah, right next to Lugia.
Just side by side, just hanging out, containing their breath. Hey man, how's it going?
He comes back down, Lugia goes, did you win?
Did you get him?
Oh, next time.
I was gone, then Rayquaza showed up again. Always I had him. I was just seconds away. In its various anime appearances, Kyogre is shown to create massive storms, whirlpools, water spouts, a lot of the same stuff that Lugia has been shown to do, but with the implication that it is a much grander scale of those effects. Interestingly, in the anime, Kyogre is also shown to be able to fly through the air.
Okay, yep.
Under what appears to be under its own power, which is a very interesting feature to give a whale. It's not always shown to do that, but there are a couple of prominent examples where it does.
Feels very much like one of those writer moments of, and then Kyogre can show up and they go, how? Make it fly.
Yeah, fly. It's raining. That's kind of like swimming.
Yeah.
Right?
It flies through the rain. It's fine. All right.
Kyogre's legendary rival is Groudon. Groudon is bipedal, hulking, roughly Godzilla-shaped. Mm-hmm. It has that sort of hunch. It's got big arms and big legs and a big tail. Its body is covered in this segmented armor with various ridges and spikes ornamenting it. It has large clawed hands and feet. Its tail is flat and has sort of a construction equipment appearance. The ridge. I think this might have been on Bulbapedia that they described the tail as having dozer ridges.
Yes, it looks like a bulldozer bucket.
It also has a small mouth that is also toothy.
Mm-hmm.
It is mostly a bright red with a gray underside and white spikes and these patterns of black lines across the body. Groudon, according to the Pokedex, is 11 and a half feet tall, or 3.5 meters, and according to the Pokedex, almost weighs a ton.
Okay.
Almost.
It's like that's at least not too bad.
It's closer. It's getting there. Once again, not known to be either male or female, not known to reproduce, and there is only one Groudon. Groudon is ground type. Ground type is associated with the earth, the land, the sediments, the land beneath our feet. Its stats are very similar to Kyogre, but whereas Kyogre is focused more on special attack and special defense, Groudon's higher stats are physical attack and physical defense. It is a physical powerhouse.
Yes.
Its ability, counterpart to Kyogre's, is called Drought. When Groudon enters the battle, it creates intense sunlight, which has the opposite effect of rain. It weakens water type moves, it empowers fire type moves, and it has some other effects on other move types. Both of these Pokemon, their deal is they show up and the weather changes.
Which is cool.
Groudon's move set includes a lot of earth and fire-based moves, right? Earthquake, Eruption, Fire Blast, Fissure. Also, it naturally learns Solar Beam.
Yeah.
Which is a grass-type move, but it is harnessing the energy of the sun, which is very much in line. It also has moves of physical prowess, like Hammer Arm, Bulk Up, which increases its physical stats, and it has Ancient Power and Scary Face, like the other two.
Yeah.
Groudon's lore is that whereas Kyogre creates torrential rain, Groudon scatters rain clouds, causing intense heat and sunlight. Mythology says, whereas again, Kyogre expands the sea, Groudon is said to expand the land, doing so by causing evaporation, or drying up sources of water, but also erupting magma that cools into new land masses.
Cool.
It is also said, in at least some entries, to have been a savior to people who suffered from ongoing storms.
Oh, that's fun.
When Groudon is inactive, it is said to slumber in underground pools of magma, and when it awakens, it is said to cause volcanoes to erupt as it emerges back into the world.
Epic.
In an episode of the anime, this was Mega Evolution Special 3, I think, Groudon wakes up. This is the one, if you're going to watch one, this one's very cool. Groudon wakes up and goes, like, stomping across the land, just, like, carving a path to the ocean to go find and fight Kyogre. And it leaves this trail of molten earth behind it.
Cool.
Like, you can tell where it's been because it carves this trail of magma. Also, in the Pokemon Special manga, Groudon is shown to burrow into the earth and then it will emerge somewhere else later. That it can also travel underground.
Sweet. I'm enjoying all the different things that they both do that different versions of Godzilla have done over the years.
Yes, these are very kaiju-inspired Pokemon. Across the games, the anime, and the manga, Groudon and Kyogre tend to show up in a very similar story. Bad guys are trying to summon one or both of them in order to harness their power to use for themselves. In order to do that, they obtain a special artifact, either the red orb or the blue orb.
One heat shows you how deep the rabbit hole goes. The other one ends it. You wake up, and it was all a dream.
Exactly. And then they go to find where the Pokemon is slumbering, and they offer it, which one do you want? Do you want to come out into the world, or do you want to stay sleeping? Kyogre is pretty consistently shown to be found in a place called the Seafloor Cavern, which is a cavern on the seafloor. Groudon, depending on what story it is sometimes also in the Seafloor Cavern, or in a place called Jagged Pass, which is a volcanic mountain slope where it is found slumbering. In Pokemon Emerald, Groudon and Kyogre are found in either Terra Cave or Marine Cave, and these change location over time, and you can track where they are by the weather in the region.
Ha! That's
It's
awesome.
like when there's intense rain, it's because Marine Cave has shown up and Kyogre's in there somewhere.
Cool.
Which is pretty cool. Inevitably, the bad guys find the Pokemon and awaken it using the red or blue orb, but they can't control its power, and it gets away and starts causing chaos. Consistently, what happens is Groudon or Kyogre show up, and the weather all over the region becomes chaotic. Intense rains or intense sunlight, and people, and it's bad. Like, this is going to absolutely destroy the ecosystem in the region. And then the hero, which is usually I'm the hero, defeats them. In some stories, when Kyogre and Groudon are both awakened, they find each other and fight and just have a big ol'... Sometimes the stories are specifically that they wake up to seek out a source of power, and then they fight over that.
Yeah.
Other times, they just both wake up and they're like, ooh, the other one's out there, and then they find him and then they fight. While they're fighting, they're creating chaotic weather patterns between one bringing the rains and one bringing the sunlight. They launch energy attacks at each other. In at least 2 different animated depictions, I've seen Kyogre rams Groudon, and Groudon catches it and then throws it through the air.
Yes.
In one manga story, they are described as battling each other for weeks on end.
Cool.
So they just keep going. And typically, in these instances where Groudon and Kyogre are fighting each other, the battle ends when Rayquaza shows up.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Rayquaza. Rayquaza is a long, slender, serpentine creature. It has sort of a lizard-like head, 2 relatively small arms with 3 claws. That's all of its limbs are just these 2 arms. Along the length of its body, it has these small fins that make it kind of look like a missile, like those classic missile fins along the side of the body and on the tail.
Yep.
It has these longer, narrow fins on the head. Its body is green with various yellow, red, and black lines. Shiny Rayquaza is black. I don't think I mentioned it, but shiny Groudon is yellow.
Yeah.
We have yet to mention the shinies at any, actually incorporate them into our discussion, but it's fun to mention.
Yep.
Rayquaza, according to the Pokedex, is 23 feet long, or 7 meters.
Excellent.
It is a big, long dragon. Once again, Rayquaza, legendary Pokemon, not known to be male or female, does not reproduce, and there appears to be only one. Rayquaza is dragon and flying type. Dragon being a legendary reptilian draconic creature associated with natural forces, and flying type, not only does it fly, but associated with the sky and the winds and the weather. Rayquaza's stats, whereas Kyogre emphasizes special attack and special defense, and Groudon emphasizes attack and defense, the physical stats, Rayquaza's highest stats are attack and special attack. It is an offensive Pokemon through and through.
I'm here to take you down.
Rayquaza's ability is called Airlock, which, when Rayquaza enters the battle, it cancels the weather effects that are in play. So when Rayquaza shows up, it stops raining, or the intense, harsh sunlight subsides. Rayquaza reverts the weather back to average or normal. Rayquaza's moveset includes a lot of moves related to its draconic power or weather manipulation, Dragon Pulse, Dragon Ascent, Hurricane, Twister, things like that. It also has moves like Extreme Speed and Hyper Beam, which are these just powerful offensive attacks. And it has Ancient Power and Scary Face, because all 3 of them have that. The lore about Rayquaza, so Groudon is the Pokemon of the land, and Kyogre is the Pokemon of the sea. Rayquaza represents the sky.
Yeah.
Rayquaza is said to live in the ozone layer, high up in the atmosphere. It is said to be up there and never descending. It never has to land. It just lives in the high atmosphere. It is said to resemble a shooting star when it flies at night up in the distant atmosphere. It is thought to feed on water and other particles in the air, so it just eats as it flies. It is also said to consume meteorites.
Oh.
Or in particular in the game, they call them meteoroids, right? Just little fallen rocks from space that will become important later.
Yeah.
Generally, in the games, Rayquaza is found at the top of the Sky Pillar, which is a tower that was built by people who revered Rayquaza. This was meant to be a monument to this Pokemon.
As they should.
As you should, as I would. In multiple stories, Rayquaza is summoned specifically to stop Groudon and Kyogre from fighting. In some stories, it just shows up. In others, people actively are like, someone's got to get Rayquaza because these kaiju are going to destroy the world.
Go get mom or dad.
Yes. So like in Pokemon Emerald, Kyogre and Groudon are fighting, and you, the player, are sent to the Sky Pillar to go get Rayquaza. In some stories, Rayquaza is specifically related to meteorites. They play an important role in its story, particularly in the Delta episode of Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and in the one episode of Pokemon Evolution. There are stories from the past of meteorites falling to Earth and the power within those meteorites empowering Rayquaza, which, combined with the wishes of the people who want to request Rayquaza's help, give it the ability to Mega Evolve.
Yeah.
This, of course, brings us to the other important add-on to these three Pokemon, which is that all three of them have an extra powerful additional form. Kyogre and Groudon are both able to undergo what the game calls primal reversion. When they are imbued with the power of nature, they take on what is described as their true form. This is a form that activates in battle only, and while they're holding the red orb or the blue orb. Red for Groudon, blue for Kyogre. That orb allows them to garner the power to enter their primal reversion state. In both cases, they become larger, they become more imposing and ornate in their appearance, and they glow with this internal power. Primal Kyogre is almost 10 meters long, more than 32 feet, and Primal Groudon is over 16 feet tall, 5 meters tall, and Groudon also gains a secondary type. Groudon becomes ground and fire type. They each have a signature ability in this form. Kyogre's is Primordial Sea, and Groudon's is Desolate Land.
There we go.
Which cause, that way better, which are basically an upgrade of Drizzle and Drought. They cause heavy rain or extremely harsh sunlight, which have mostly all the same effects as just regular rain and sunlight, with the notable add-on that in heavy rain, fire-type attacks don't work at all, and in extremely harsh sunlight, water-type attacks don't work at all.
That's awesome.
So they can fully negate each other's core moves.
Very cool.
They also have signature moves. Primal Kyogre has a move called Origin Pulse, where it launches beams of light that glow a deep and brilliant blue. And Primal Groudon has a move called Precipice Blades, which manifests power of the land in fearsome blades of stone.
Cool.
These are the sort of ultimate kaiju forms of these already very kaiju Pokemon.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Rayquaza has a Mega Evolution. Mega Evolution, there's a lot of Pokemon that can Mega Evolve. Typically, they require the power of a Mega Stone in order to let them do it. Rayquaza does not. Rayquaza only needs to know a particular move, Dragon Ascent, and instead of a Mega Stone, it reacts to the power within meteorites. In the Delta episode, your player, basically you show up and you meet Rayquaza and you have a meteorite with you that it reacts to. And it's like, that is the power that I needed to Mega Evolve. It is described in the game that Rayquaza has a special organ inside its body where it eats meteorites, and the power from those meteorites is gathered in this organ, and that organ acts like a megastone, allowing Rayquaza to evolve with its own internal power source.
Neat.
Which is very cool. That, combined with the wishes of the people or the player, when Pokemon Mega Evolve, there tends to be text in the game that says something like, the Pokemon is reacting to the power of the Megastone. Rayquaza's Mega Evolution, it says Rayquaza is reacting to the wishes of the player.
Nice.
That it is that bond, that connection. Mega Rayquaza, also larger than regular form, more imposing, more ornate. All three of them just kind of become more awesome looking. Mega Rayquaza has extra large fins. It has these long ribbons flowing off of its body. Mega Rayquaza is described as being 35 and a half feet long, or almost 11 meters. It's very cool.
Excellent.
And it also has a signature ability, an upgrade of Airlock, an ability called Delta Stream, which causes strong winds, which, among other effects, removes the weaknesses of flying types.
Oh.
So moves that would be super effective against Rayquaza because it's a flying type are not super effective against it, which is pretty cool.
That's very interesting.
In multiple stories, Groudon and Kyogre each take on their primal form. They fight each other in a big devastating battle, and then Mega Rayquaza shows up to stop them. Also, notably, in the Delta episode, after Mega Rayquaza has been harnessed entirely, the player puts on a spacesuit and rides Mega Rayquaza into space, where it carves a giant asteroid into pieces. It's maybe the coolest thing that's ever happened in a Pokemon game.
Yep, it's hard to top.
It's really cool.
You get to go Armageddon an asteroid with Rayquaza.
You do, yeah. You get to go Armageddon an asteroid. Apparently, Rayquaza can fly in space. That does not seem to stop it.
Fantastic.
So, Kyogre, Groudon, and Rayquaza, 3 different takes on this concept of an elemental kaiju monster, representing the sea, the land, and the air, and the conflict between them. Our job is now to evolve those. Where on the evolutionary tree of life might creatures like that show up? What conditions might lead to that? And most interestingly for these 3, because they are so different, what might lead to this unique relationship between the 3 of them?
Yep.
Before we get into that, of course, as always, a little magic disclaimer. In our discussion, we are limited to the natural world possibilities. We will have to leave out things that are supernatural, such as reacting magically to the wishes of people or changing the weather of the whole region. That's magic, and that's a little bit hard to do within our natural bounds of our game.
Yeah. Haven't figured out the genetics for that yet.
You gotta get one of those X genes.
I hear they're all the rage.
So we have 3 creatures to work with here.
The first thoughts I have, figuring out what creature each one is, I'm actually not too worried about because none of them are so weird in their body that should be very difficult. As far as their dynamic goes, the first thought I had is, what if this is a situation where one of them is hunting the other, but it is like sperm whales hunting giant squid where there's a fight. Like they put up a fight and it is a struggle. And like, if Groudon is like polar bears hunting beluga whale, where it is going down to the ocean and hunting Kyogres, and Kyogre puts up a mean fight for its life, and often can win the fight and potentially even take out the Groudon that came to get it.
Right. Yeah, I think using the inspiration from real life animal rivalries, right? Famous examples of animals battling it out, Sperm whales and giant squid is a great example because it's a real life kaiju fight.
Mm-hmm.
But also things like mongoose and cobras,
Mm-hmm.
where you have these two organisms with this long history where either one could be hunting the other one, but they've developed these, like mongooses have resistance to the venom of these snakes. They also will react defensively. Like when a
Yeah.
mongoose sees a cobra, they're like, all right, I'm going to go tell that cobra what for, because I don't want it coming anywhere near my home, my family, whatever. So sometimes these rivalries are a predation thing. Other times it is more of a defensive. To use your example, it could be that like Kyogre has developed natural defenses to ward off Groudon.
Yes, because Groudon's coming for their young, but they're gonna fight it off.
So it has this natural inclination to be like, there's one, absolutely not, you get out of here. And it will charge in and run them off.
I really like that dynamic.
Well, and I think especially the idea of the sperm whale and giant squid example is very fun because it's a very specialized hunting strategy for sperm whales. Like, you are an animal that belongs at the surface. Like, you breathe air, you belong up in the shallows, but they are specially adapted to be able to dive way deep down and take on one of the largest animals you could possibly prey upon.
Yeah.
And then mongoose, in my example, have developed immunity to cobra venom and have these strategies basically to allow them to fight these animals. So the idea that these are creatures that have adapted specifically to be able to take each other out is very tempting in this example.
Well, and I like the predation because it also gives you explanations for like Groudon waking up and just beelining it to the coast because it is on the hunt for Kyogres. You know, it sleeps and dwells and nests inland, but it goes off hunting and it heads right to the coast. And if it's something like if Kyogre is coming into shore during particularly high tides and rainstorms and stuff, when the water is going to be at its highest and it's going to have the best time, especially, you know, if it's a big, you know, whale like animal, they can be mating years apart because like pregnancy for animals like that can take years. So it's like, yeah, I only come inland every 4 or 5 years when conditions are absolutely ideal, and Groudon knows what those conditions are. And when that storm rolls in, it goes, whoop, time to eat. And I'm going to go get me a Kyogre.
I think comparing Groudon to a bear is a very apt comparison, because the idea that it hibernates.
Yes.
So like, yes, this animal hunkers down and disappears, and then it wakes up and goes, well, I haven't eaten in months. I'm going to go get a big one.
Yep.
But also with things like grizzly bears in the northern parts of North America, who are famous for following salmon spawning.
Yes, exactly.
Like, they know it's all right. Around this time of year, the rivers are full of salmon. I'm going to go on a trek and eat my fill of these salmon.
Yeah, this seasonal hunting pattern that follows their prey source.
And I think with most animals that we normally think of, it is a seasonal or annual cycle, but it could also be something that is a longer cycle. Like you mentioned, it could be that something like Kyogre might be reproducing on a longer cycle than that. It could be that Groudon most years is content to stay in its burrow or stay in its natural habitat, eating what little things it can. But then every however many years, it's, you know, mating season. And they need to really bulk up, and that's when they go. And it could be linked up with like monsoonal cycles or something.
Yep. And I like that because then it's this idea of once it can get a hold of this big prey item, it then gorges itself on it and goes back to a low energy lifestyle where it's going to be subsist off of this for a very long time and just have small meals. And then it's like the crocs that mainly feed when the migrations come through and will not have a large meal in between. It'll just be small things like fish. And until the wildebeest come back to their river, they don't eat anything bigger than something mouth-sized.
And I think that in nature, when we see these examples of like, all right, here's this animal going after some big food or really gorging itself, that tends to be either in preparation for hibernating, in preparation for reproduction, very commonly, or it's a animal that doesn't get consistent food sources like those crocs. So when one comes around, they go all out and they eat as much as they possibly can.
Yes, exactly. And it's got a big, thick tail to store all of that fat.
Yeah. And I kind of like the idea. So, right off the bat, with our apologies to everybody out there, our Kyogre will not be able to create rain.
No.
But the idea of it being a large species that follows the rain.
Yes.
Like elephants are known to do this, where you'll have a herd of elephants. And elephants, this is just one of the coolest things in the world. Elephants can hear storms from miles away, where they'll just be like, hey, everybody, there's a storm 10 miles that way. Let's go walk in that direction because we'll get some water. And I don't know of any aquatic creatures that do this, but if the activity from the storm is churning up nutrients or affecting the motion of plankton or whatnot, the idea of Kyogre hearing the storm from deep below the sea and sort of following along with these storm patterns, and maybe especially during like monsoonal seasons or hurricane season or something, that it is following the path of the storm because it's making this change up on the surface that allows it to get a lot of extra nutrients.
It also could be increased storm, raising water levels, and coming in like only at full moon times when the tides are highest. It's like, this is when I can come inshore and avoid the big oceanic predators and give birth. And the storm helps with water levels. It also keeps away a lot of animals because things tend to avoid storms. And now I can give birth. And that is also why Groudon's showing up, because it's like, I don't want to eat the adult. I want the easy babies. I'm going to eat 4 or 5 of them, ideally.
Yes. I really like the idea that it's when there is a storm, Kyogre will often show up because it lets it get into the shallows where it can keep its young safe. But then if Groudon is a species that has evolved to recognize, like, all right, there's a storm over here, probably I'll be able to find some of my prey. But if I wait till the storm is subsiding, as the tide is going out, I'm more likely to be able to catch a straggler or catch these animals in a more vulnerable condition, which would mean that Kyogre shows up when the storm is happening, and when Groudon shows up, the storm goes away.
Yes. Yep.
As it's timing its arrival to try to catch Kyogre at its most vulnerable.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like that.
Which is very, and then again, when a Groudon shows up and there's an adult Kyogre around, it's like, all right, you kids hide. I'm gonna go fight this thing.
Yes.
Because
if I can kill it, that would be great, because then we will be safe. This beach will be safe for a long time, because there's only one of these per beach because of how big they are. Like,
yes. Also, Kyogre has teeth.
Yep.
So it is presumably also eating meat.
Yep.
And so it could also tear a chunk off of that nice Groudon to feed to its developing young.
Absolutely.
I like that. I think that's a cool dynamic.
Yeah, and like you were mentioning with mongoose, there are tons of examples of animals when they see a potential rival or predator will be like, if I can murk that one, that's one less for us to worry about. So I will go out of my way to try to kill one if I get the opportunity. Like lions are known to do that with rival predators.
Mm-hmm.
The less competition, the better. We're not competing right now, but that might be different tomorrow. And right now, I've got a chance to kill you.
Yes, it is an unusual behavior among a lot of
Mm-hmm.
animals because most animals are not going to go pick a fight if they don't
Yes.
have to. But some have developed that habit where they're either very protective or very territorial. I'm
Yep.
thinking of things like hippos, where
Yes.
like a hippo doesn't need a whole lot of encouragement
Yeah.
to go be really mean to something. That
Yeah.
they're really ready to do it.
It is on site at a moment's notice if they're just in the mood.
Hmm. I could also see a situation where maybe Kyogre isn't the only thing taking advantage of that storm,
Mm-hmm.
and there are other creatures that Groudon might be going after.
Yes,
So
exactly.
sometimes Groudon is going there to take down this Kyogre creature, but other times it's showing up just to hope to get something. And if there happens to be a Kyogre in there, it sees the Groudon and it goes, "Nope, this is my beach, and I'm going to get rid of you." So either one of them could be the aggressor.
Mm-hmm. Could be kind of like how humpback whales will just interject themselves amid orca hunts and block the orcas. And the idea that scientists have come up with is that potentially because orcas will hunt baby humpbacks, the humpbacks, when they get an opportunity to foil orcas, you are sabotaging them. Hopefully there will be fewer of you or you'll be weaker next time I have a baby. So I don't want you to be successful ever because
Yes.
you're a threat to my young when it's time to reproduce.
Well, and there's also a lot of species that establish a territory, even if
Mm-hmm.
temporarily, and not every other thing is considered a threat.
Yes.
Right? Like a tiger defending its territory doesn't tend to care if like deer wander into its territory. In fact,
Yeah.
that's great. I want deer to be in my territory.
Yes.
But if
Yes.
another big cat were to show up, that's something that the tiger might go, "All right, that's a problem. I'm going to get rid of you."
Yeah.
If Kyogre has claimed this beach as like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this is where I'm raising my young. I am establishing a territory here on the beach, and most things that show up it doesn't particularly care about. But if this bear creature shows up, it goes, "That one, absolutely not.
Yep.
I
Yep.
refuse."
Yes.
I think that Kyogre. I mean, I think Kyogre's a whale.
Yeah. It's
That seems
so
like
the
the most obvious approach.
whale is definitely the easiest, most obvious approach. And it could be a whale that has, like, humpback whales have really prominent fins, but these fins are like, the tail is quite wimpy compared to its arms.
Yes,
So
it is. It is
this
an arm swimmer.
it is an arm swimmer for sure. Which there's nothing stopping a whale from evolving that. We haven't seen an example of a whale evolving that in Earth history, but nothing stopping
True.
it. It could be something else like a sea lion or something that evolved into a orca like predator, and that the tail is actually a short tail and two legs sticking off of it.
Yes, that is kind of what I was wondering if maybe it could be like a pliosaur
Yes, yes.
with though the tail is actually its pelvic fins and it
Yep,
has
yep.
just a very short little tail and then two big honking pectoral fins.
Which I also like. Pliosaur would be a really good fit for the overall shape and the way it's swimming around.
Yeah, it's an odd shape for a pliosaur because it has a
Yes.
very sort of short whale-like face, but I could see that sort of taking on that shape.
Yes.
I do quite like it. Also has paired dorsal fins, which is a very strange thing for
Yes.
really anything to have. But
Yep.
pliosaurs are weird, so maybe they develop
Yeah.
paired dorsal fins.
Well, and I kind of like going with them. That's another reason that I think I like going with them, because they didn't have dorsal fins.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
the first group that evolved them is this Kyogre lineage, and oddly among vertebrates, they evolved paired dorsal fins, which just could be projections, and maybe it's not bony structure, maybe it's just cartilage and soft tissue.
Yeah. And so Kyogre's face is very orca shaped,
Yes, extremely.
but an orca's skull is not shaped like that.
No.
That's the external shape of the skull because of all the various organs and tissues that are around the head. So it could be a pliosaur that has still a very pliosaur shaped skull, but has developed maybe extra sensory tissues around the head. Maybe it has something kind of like echolocation that it is taking up that space that gives it sort of that rounded head shape like we think of with toothed whales.
Yep. Maybe it shortened the snout because it was, eating tough food, so it's gotten a more robust bite, and that's why they spend a lot of time down in deep waters going after shellfish and crustaceans and stuff.
I like that. I think that's pretty cool. And then there are also plenty of ocean creatures that will spray water.
Yes. Yep.
So the idea that maybe when it comes to the surface, it's taking a quick breath like whales do, but out of its nostrils. So it sprays a bunch of water. And I could even see if it's dwelling in the shadows and defending a beach territory, that it could use that spray offensively. That it's going to shoot a big spray of watery snot at something that it wants to go away. And that is a water attack, effectively.
Yeah, and if it has a bunch of like warning displays that are splashing violently, like actively splashing to make a point, like crocs doing their head slap on the water. I am hitting the water toward you to try to say don't come over here.
Yes. Cool. All right, I like that.
Yep. I'm good with that
one.
And
then we have Groudon.
And Groudon's got a big tail, so we could go with something tailed.
Yes. I think that bear is a good behavioral comparison.
Yes.
And Groudon is kind of shaped like a bear, but there's a lot in there that is tough to put on a bear.
Yeah.
It's got that big flat tail. It's covered in spikes and armor, which reads more reptilian to me.
Absolutely. It could definitely be a dinosaur. It would have to be some more basal because I just noticed he's got 4 fingers.
It also the spiky armor is something that you could get with some dinosaurs, right? You have things like ankylosaurs that have very ornate armor. Crocodilians and their relatives often have that very ornate armor. There's also like armadillos and glyptodonts kind of things that have that
which is
very spiky and thick armor.
That's a good point.
The trickiest thing about it is that its tail is flat.
Yeah, I do kind of like the armadillo or possibly even pangolin route, but I feel like armadillo is better because they have teeth still.
Yeah, and they have big claws for digging.
Which Groudon not only is said to dig, but those are definitely digging hands.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's built like an excavator. It has these it looks like a bit of construction equipment.
And though armadillo tails are not wide and flat, I could absolutely see one develop a muscular but wider tail. And the way Groudon's posture is, the tail is very low to the ground, like it's very low on the body, so it doesn't look like that is Groudon's normal posture. Like it looks like Groudon is raised up.
Yeah, Groudon it has a very flat body. Like it looks like it wants to be laying down.
Yes, it looks like you would usually be walking around on all fours, but that you've raised up and using your tail as a support, which Xenarthrans are known to do. So it's got kind of like giant ground sloth proportions.
I was gonna say giant ground sloths are known to be armored.
Yep.
At times they're not spiky the way that like glyptodonts are. But if this is like a separate branch of Xenarthra, that it's in that, right? It's got a little bit of armadillo-like features. It's got a bit of sloth-like features. And it basically, I guess it would be something on the armadillo lineage that went ground sloth shaped.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that that's pretty cool. It's also nice because armadillos are omnivorous.
Yes, they're omnivorous.
They eat bugs, they eat meat, and Groudon, this is for sure. Look at those teeth.
Oh yeah.
And if our whole thing is that it's hunting Kyogre and other creatures, this is a carnivore, which ground sloths were not. Ground sloths were very herbivorous.
An armadillo going more carnivorous absolutely makes sense. It also is nice because like Xenarthrans tend to have lower body temperatures and slower metabolisms than other mammals, which would allow Groudon to hibernate more efficiently and sit out those long periods in between ideal meals very well.
I like the idea that this is something in the armadillo glyptodon lineage that became ground sloth shaped and then lives like a bear.
Yes.
Feels very fitting.
Yes, and it's got I like that a lot.
Big claws for hunting. It can hunt like a polar bear. The Groudon will go into the water. Like, it'll go into the water. It'll grab at stuff. It'll maybe even swim a little bit.
Yeah.
The tail is an odd shape, but I think that if that is armored, right? Like glyptodonts, there are species with armored tails. And if the tail doesn't have to be wide and flat. Like the bones, like a beaver's tail bones are not wide and flat like that.
Yeah, no, they look pretty normal when you see the skeleton.
That is soft tissue and it's armor creating this extra feature on the tail that is there for supporting the rest of the body or anchoring it on the ground.
Yes. And this big muscular tail for support, but also could have fat storage and armor that is turning it into this defensive thing. We could make it that like it blocks the entrance to its burrows with that big armored tail, because there's lots of animals that do that. Wombats block their burrow with their big calcified butt.
And if it, like Kyogre, during these territorial displays, is also doing a lot of thrashing and sort of violent display, it could be slamming that tail into the ground. It could be kicking up dirt and sand and mud, giving that appearance of Kyogre is manipulating the water and Groudon is kicking up sand and shaking the ground as it stomps and slaps its tail against it.
Which would make sense for it most of the time, because if this is a big predator, a big grizzly bear-sized predator, typically they do not put up with other members of their kind outside of mating, because there's not enough to go around. So, every now and then I'm just going to get up and I'm just going to make a ruckus to remind any Groudons that might be getting a little too close that this is my area. Go find your own section. And I like that.
I do like that. That is very fun. All right. Well, we've got one more.
Yes, and I have an
Rayquaza.
idea.
Okay, cool. I also have the beginnings of an idea, but I'll let you go first.
I don't have a solid idea on what animal it is yet, but I have an idea for how it functions in the interaction and how it breaks up the fights.
Because I have an idea of what animal it might be. So this will be great. So you go first, and then I'll add my idea.
The concept I have for the interaction, which I think is suitably awesome for Rayquaza, is that Rayquaza is another predator of either of them. And it's some big apex predator that sometimes, it's not as specialized on hunting Kyogre as Groudon is, but it will absolutely go after them. And when it shows up, it's like, either or. Right. And so when it shows up, they both go, whoop, and one goes out into the ocean, one goes back on land, because the T-Rex of the coastline showed up, and I'm not that hungry.
Well, and the idea that Rayquaza is an animal that dwells at the shoreline. That, like, Kyogre comes here for reproductive purposes and Groudon comes here for hunting at certain times, but neither of them lives here.
Yes.
Right? They come from the ocean and the land, but Rayquaza might be a species that this is a shoreline animal.
Yeah.
And so you both actually have come into its territory.
Yes.
And you didn't know that, but that's where you are, and now you need to leave.
Yep. And it breaks up the fight, because if you keep fighting, one or both of you are definitely not making out of this, because neither of you can stand up to this predator.
As far as what creature it is, originally I wasn't going to put Rayquaza on the list for Pokey because it is a serpentine dragon, and we
Yes.
already did that in Spooky. So, in the interest of keeping things simple, Rayquaza could just be one of our Asian dragons,
It absolutely could.
which were fish.
Yes.
Long bodied fish that I think we said were maybe Sarcopterygian. So
Yes.
they have a little bit of that bony structure. They are a little bit more adept at navigating along shorelines. They were also associated with turbulent weather and like the monsoon cycle.
Yep,
So
yep.
Rayquaza could be an offshoot of that has developed this much longer body, long, slender body shape, maybe for navigating like reef habitats or other shoreline habitats, like rocky islands and stuff, where that
Yes.
narrow body helps it navigate, kind of like a sea snake.
It's got crests and horns around its face like the Asian dragons, and we made those into gill-like structures, and that still fits.
Yes. Rayquaza also only has 4 arms.
Mm-hmm.
Right, the front arms, which, if you're a fish, sure, absolutely, you can lose fins fine. It's still got like static fins along parts of the body.
And if this is a more fully aquatic and even marine adapted individual, losing the back legs is a very common trend in members that evolve that way. So if it's one of our Asian dragons that then evolved to be even more coastal and marine, losing those back legs makes total sense.
Yeah, it's swimming, undulating through the water, and those arms might be more useful for maybe navigating along the shallows, right? Like walking itself along the ground, or even grabbing at stuff.
Yes.
And it's got those sort of bony arms like coelacanths and lungfish do.
And if it is a coastal predator, those could also be helping it in like ambushing at the shoreline for like things scavenging and foraging along the beach. You know, an animal that comes down to feed on some fish or something that washed up, then gets grabbed by this predator. Also, if it's moving along the floor, that's a great reason for it to be swallowing stones as gastroliths to help it weigh down.
Amazing.
Eating some meteorites.
I do like that. That's pretty good.
You said that, and I went, all right, this has gastroliths. I'm not hearing any other explanation.
Now, one last thing to consider among these 3 is their primal and mega forms.
Yes.
That there is primal Kyogre and primal Groudon and mega Rayquaza that take on these extra ornate appearances, bigger and more intimidating and more powerful. Now, in multiple previous episodes of Pokey so far, we have explained this kind of transformation as being maybe this is the big male or the big female of the population. Maybe it's something that happens when they reach maturity. Maybe it's something that it's the silverback gorilla kind of situation. Yeah. So it could be that. It could be that this is like, every now and then a Groudon takes on this. But these aren't social. We have been describing them very much as solitary animals. So a silverback kind of thing would make less sense.
Absolutely.
In that dynamic.
The idea that comes to my mind is subspecies. Like, what if the primal form is the Kodiak bear equivalent? Where it's like, brown bears are big animals, and then Kodiaks are even bigger brown bears. Like, that's as big as they get. And they are notably larger. Their behavior is slightly different, and they are distinct. They're still a brown bear, but they are a subspecies, and that in a certain region we get subspecies of each of these that are the biggest and most impressive member of this species.
Yeah. I'm imagining like an island archipelago.
Yeah.
Where you've got sort of evolution in somewhat of isolation. But if that archipelago also exists in like the path of hurricanes.
Yes. Yep.
Whereas like this is like the Caribbean. And so you have this subspecies and it's islands, so limited resources, the tendency for some species to grow bigger and to have slightly different appearances, but also if that particular region gets extra intense weather patterns, that also encourages these to be a bit stockier and a bit sturdier. This is right. These are the beaches where this subspecies of Kyogre, no other Kyogre could do it here.
Yes,
this
exactly.
is the really resilient one, which would also make that association between the primal forms and the more intense weather patterns.
Yes, I like that. You could also get some arms race going on of like, listen, the Rayquazas around here are ginormous.
Yeah, they're 30 feet long.
I need to be bigger if I even want to have a chance forage, because as a Groudon, I am a shoreline forager. I go and look for food at the shoreline. I need to have a chance to fight this off, and you get this feedback.
Well, and the more ornate appearance of them also would work if they are trying to do displays at each other.
Yes, exactly.
If it is that much more important that you scare away Groudon from your young or Kyogre from the beach where you're trying to forage, being bigger and more impressive and more intimidating might be important for showing off or scaring them away.
Now I'm just picturing Groudon on two islands with a short stretch of sea between them, both yelling at each other. Stay on your island. This island's my island. You stay over there. There's only room for one Groudon per island.
Yeah, well, and just picturing like a bunch of people are on this island and they're like, all right, we're in a heat wave. There's a heat wave happening, and unbeknownst to them, the heat wave is the signal for the hibernating Groudon to emerge. And it's like, oh yes, it's gotten warm outside, and it comes up out of its burrow and starts making a beeline for the coast. And it's headed for the coast, and there's a storm happening on the coast, but the closer the Groudon gets, the storm is slowly subsiding, and it gets to the shoreline, and as soon as it gets there, there's this spray of water, and this Kyogre announces itself, and then the two of them start like vying up and down the shoreline.
Yes.
Rushing at each other and backing off and yelling at each other and doing these big displays, each trying to get at the other one because it'd be great to get a meal, but each also trying to push the other one away to mark its territory. And people are just wide-eyed watching this happen until this dragon shows up, and the two of them go, all right, you know what? That's enough. And then they both leave.
Fighting's really juvenile, actually, now that I think about it.
He started it. Rayquaza, I don't care who started it.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I like that a lot. That's a really fun setup.
This is awesome.
Well, great. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us for this special Spook-E spin-off series, Poke-E. We evolved a Dinosaurian Lugia, an Arthropodian Giratina, something with Zygarde. And
I'm sure we did. I'm sure of it.
I'm sure we came up with something. And then an Archosaur, sort of basal Archosaur tree, a clade, for our Koraidon and Miraidon. And now these wildly disparate lineages that have developed this interaction that they share at these habitats.
Yeah.
Such fun. I'm really glad that we did this. This was a really fun series. Listeners, let us know what you think. Did you like this side series? Because if you liked it, maybe we'll do more like this, and we can do other stuff that's similar. Get in the Discord, join the conversations with our fellow listeners, share your ideas about what you think these creatures might be like, or if you have alternate takes. If you are an artist and we have inspired you to do some sort of art, please feel free to share it, because we love seeing the artwork that people make inspired by our silly conversations. Happy 30th anniversary to the Pokemon franchise.
crazy that it's been 30 years.
I've been playing Pokemon for 30 years.
Right? Yep.
Yep, just every year. I've been doing it.
It's definitely one of those of like, oh, so that's how old I am. Good to know.
Yeah. Pokemon was made for me 30 years ago. As usual, a huge thanks to everybody who listens to the podcast, who supports the podcast. Thank you to all of our patrons, all of our requesters, everybody who engages with us on social media, all of our many members in the Discord. We hope to see you there and hear some of your thoughts and discussions that spin off of this series. There's other stuff going on around this time. This episode will be coming out at the beginning of March, but we're recording it before the end of 2025, so I don't know what's going on. So check the Discord and the social media and the website, and that'll tell you what other cool stuff is happening around the time these episodes come out. And with that, we have developed several more honorary additions to the Spookyverse. I think these all can go in the Spookyverse.
Yes, absolutely.
And we return you to your regularly scheduled podcast. There will be more stuff coming up. We're probably when this comes out, I bet we're working on Silver Screen Science for the year, and we're thinking about Croc and Snake Month for the summer. Leave It to Us Season 2 is going to be in the works for coming out in the spring. There's going to be all sorts of cool stuff happening.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Thank you all one more time, and bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Common Descent podcast. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and check our WordPress blog for pictures and links after each episode. Huge thanks to our patrons whose support helps keep this podcast running and who get access to bonus goodies on Patreon. The song you're hearing is called On the Origin of Species by Protodome, which we found at ocremix.org. Thanks again for listening. We hope you'll join us next time.